This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. There's nothing sweeter than baking cookies during the holidays. With Prime, I get all my ingredients delivered right to my door, fast and free, no last-minute store trips needed. And of course, I blast my favorite holiday playlist on Amazon Music. It's the ultimate soundtrack for creating unforgettable memories. From streaming to shopping, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.
Welcome to the Supreme Resort, Land v. World, a podcast about Disneyland and Walt Disney World, and which is the Supreme Resort. Each episode, we will discuss and explore each resort, ride by ride, land by land, park by park, to determine which is better. I'm your host. It's been over 100 episodes. I'm your host, Jimmy, and thank you for joining me on this quest to help the greater good of humanity answer this long, elusive question, which is better, Disneyland or Walt Disney World? Joining me as always from Bowie-splaining, Dan.
Oh, hi, I'm Dan. I'm drinking lots of water, but I'm not taking any big pills yet.
Great. And from Bowie-splaining, Erik.
Hi, I just spilled a little Coke on myself after the music started to repeat. Not the Bowie kind of Coke. Coke Zero.
So Bowie-splaining is a new podcast. Evidently, he did a lot of blow.
He sure did.
Blowy-splaining.
Yeah.
That's what we should call it. So Dan is a big fan of David Bowie. He had another podcast that's kind of the antithesis of this called Dan Hates the Beatles, where they explore the Beatles library and understood sort of the cultural significance and was it really great, etc. And now Dan is explaining David Bowie to Erik, who is not as familiar. Do you want to talk about this?
If people enjoy hearing me being highly opinionated and unhinged about things, this time it's positive.
Ooh.
And if you enjoy hearing me apparently come up with things that Dan hasn't thought of before related to Bowie lyrics or Bowie songs or chord changes or ways we can insert ourselves into Bowie songs.
Well,
Bowie-splaining.
Yeah, and it's your opinion will changes. Anyway,
good reference.
So look for Bowie-splaining on all of your favorite platforms soon.
And
we'll
see how long it takes Apple to post it.
We will post a link to it in our Facebook group. That's facebook.com/the Supreme Resort, right?
Group.
Supreme Resort group. So watch out for that. If you're not a member, it is a very safe space. We are very pleasant and positive. We will weed you out if you are not.
We have yet to have to do that, by the way.
That's true.
That's nice.
It's a very kind environment. If you're a Disney theme park fan and you want a positive environment, find us at facebook.com/the Supreme Resort group. And that is where you'll find all about Bowie-splaining when it drops. So
yeah. And I think the group, we haven't really talked about it much. I think it's probably, I mean, we post some stuff about the parks and we post some stuff about stuff that's very obviously adjacent, but it's mainly just people who are like similarly weird and interested in like parks adjacent weirdness. So it's fun.
Obviously adjacent.
No, not
there
Jason.
Is a Jason there.
Yeah, there's at least one Jason.
There's at least one that we know of.
Right. So, hey guys, exciting news. Our friend of the show, former guest, Julie Tremaine, mentioned us in one of her latest articles. It is from SF Gate. Article titled, "Find Literally Anyone Else, Parks Fans on Unwritten Disneyland Etiquette." Great article. And our producer, David Sally, was referenced along with the Supreme Resort. So if you read that article and you're like, what is the Supreme Resort? This is it. We discuss and explore Disneyland and Disney World to decide which is better. And sometimes we derail just because, at some point we're going to run out of topics, but we're going to probably go back and relitigate some things as things change. Like, for example, Haunted Mansion is going to change at Disneyland and Disney World. So we're going to have to relitigate that show.
Oh, good.
Spoilers, if you are new to the show, don't listen to that episode.
Hey,
don't listen to it first.
Don't listen to it first. Yeah, wait
Right.
a couple to understand. We used to have a different host as well. So if you
that
feel like
episode might
Eric's,
be why I'm here.
yeah, that's right. Actually, was that? Yeah. Well, okay. Anyway, so
And another thing we need to relitigate.
Space Mountain.
No. Well, maybe. I disagree with but that's just because I wasn't there.
Oh, Tiki Room.
Yeah, my first episode.
That's right.
Well, that's
Tiki Rooms.
fortunately for you, Eric, because today's topic is Philharmagic, and we don't feel like there's a tremendous amount of history and robustness of the attraction. So we're going to do a two for today. We're going to do the Tiki
I got
Room.
the bustness over here.
Okay. Well, welcome. Congratulations. We're going to do the Tiki Room only after we do Philharmagic today. Then we'll throw in the Tiki Room. It feels like
I still have my notes from when we decided to not talk about it, so we can do that.
right. So Dan and I, unbeknownst to Eric, decided we just could not justify making an argument for Disney World's Tiki Room in any form. And so without telling Eric, we just recorded an episode.
Way to welcome a new guest.
He was new to the show. And we just didn't tell him that we were not really going to argue about it. And we talked about it a little bit, but we decided Disneyland was better before we even did the show. So out of respect for Eric, we are going to fully litigate the show. Again, if you're new to the Supreme Resort, it's kind of like a play on the Supreme Court. Roe v. Wade as an example, except it's the Supreme Resort Land v. World, just so you understand the language.
The current Supreme Court's a play on the Supreme Court, if you ask me.
Oh, hey, we don't get political and we're not
We sure don't.
woke.
We sure don't.
And we're not woke. What is it that we were?
That one review said we were.
That's right.
And I'm, I'll take that.
I
don't know what
awake.
they were referring to.
Anyway, okay, moving on. So before we get to our topic, thank you again to Julie for shouting us out, as they say. Concierge is our official travel sponsor. They are a vacation planner for Disneyland, Disney World, Disneyland Paris, Universal Studios, and virtually anywhere you want to go. Aulani, Disney Cruise Line. We are earmarked, which means something to some people. Not this person, but anyway, so we have a recent listener, Trinette. Trinette is looking to travel to Walt Disney World in 2025. So we had a nice conversation just to get an idea of budget. So I was able to look at 2024 prices and get a basic idea of what that would look like for the fall of 25. We had a great chat, and we've scheduled a call for, I think, May of 2024 when 2025 may open. We also have the Yorube family from Mexico City. They reached out to us to book a vacation. They we connected on Wednesday. Today, as we record, is Saturday. They booked a trip for 2 weeks from now. So they are going the week after Thanksgiving.
Wow.
2023. So
I was pushing it by booking a month from now.
Yeah. So they booked a package here's the good news, I guess, for them. Is that less than 2 weeks before travel, they were able to book at Caribbean Beach, get park hoppers and everything, and every park for every day was open. Nothing was blocked out. Everything was available. So
nice.
It's good news for them and their trip.
Too bad that Walt Disney World doesn't have the discount on kids tickets, right?
No.
It's Disneyland.
That's right.
Okay.
I really need to go and look at that because Jason Petros is traveling in January, and I have not done my concierge duty. Anyway, all right. So some news: the Downtown Disney stuff is opening, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, and nothing, world shattering, but they've been working on. I don't know, Jimmy. Do you remember they had that weird, kind of pop up stage?
Yeah.
By what used
kind
to
of
be
ESPN zone. And the Rainforest Cafe.
Right. They built an actual stage that looks like it's theme. It looks like Palm Springs kind of decor, mid-century modern, very white. By that I mean in color. However, I mean the clientele probably also very white. Let's be honest.
Okay.
I shouldn't express so much joy about whiteness. Yeah, right.
Well, we have to prove how not woke we are. So.
That's right.
And that actually they finished it. They opened it. They had bands playing there starting like day one. It looks really nice. There's a grassy area. By grass, I mean AstroTurf, but David from Fresh Bake says it's good AstroTurf.
Okay.
So that means that it tasted very delicious to him. He's part cow. And I think, I don't know, for some reason I was just very excited because it's been years since they've had like an actual lawn sort of area that you can just lounge. And that's pretty cool. I used to take naps on the lawn at Disney World. So I'm looking forward to doing that again. Not Disney World, Disneyland Hotel. Words.
Very nice. Anything else opening?
I got another Walt Funko Pop. So
great.
Yeah, he's very cute. He's leaning on the camera.
DVC Tower is open, and
right.
the new restaurant at Pixar Hotel place pier that opened, and it's breakfast all day. They have breakfast all day as an option, which is something that I've wanted in the parks for a very long time because breakfast is my favorite kind of food.
All right. Well, that's great. Also, the Adventureland Treehouse, and we'll have an episode about that. That's another thing we got to relitigate, right? Because Swiss Family Treehouse. I'm
going to be on that thing so many times on Monday.
Yeah, I'm excited. All right. Well, let's move on to the show. The main topic for what I'm calling Tiki Room for two, because we got two subjects. But we're going to start with the case of Mickey's Philharmagic, original v. Shoehorn. It's my working title.
That's fair.
Yeah. So what happens here is that because the Philharmagic at the Magic Kingdom went first, Erik will be making his opening argument, followed by Dan, where Mickey's Philharmagic was shoehorned into the space where Muppet Vision 3D used to be. So he's going to go second.
No one regrets that decision.
And we're going to start with an overview of what is Mickey's Philharmagic. Erik, please proceed.
Mickey's Philharmagic is a mostly 3D film. The film itself is all 3D, but there are other elements that go on in the theater. It's a 4D experience, but not quite as intense as some of the other 4D experiences you might have had out there. It's a family attraction that features all of your favorite friends and many of your favorite songs from movies, especially if you like the 6 songs that are in it. It's in Fantasyland at the Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World, and it is presented in a space that was crafted specifically for this feature.
Just out of curiosity, in the history portion of the episode, are you going to talk about what used to be there?
I will definitely talk about what used to be there.
Good.
Other attractions that were crafted for that were the space. I mean, the space itself was open on day one of the Magic Kingdom. So specifically crafted for that experience. And then some other things were kind of shoehorned in for a little bit until we had the powerhouse that is Mickey's Philharmagic today.
Great.
There we go.
All right. Sounds good. Oh, wait, we didn't get to sound. So if Erik says something that I like about his version of Philharmagic, you will hear this sound.
Hello?
It's Michael Eisner. If Dan says something I like about the other version, the newer version, you will hear this sound.
Hi, I'm Hugh Hauser. Hi, I'm Hugh Hauser.
You're going to hear it twice every time.
Double. That's great.
All right. So, Dan, go ahead and tell us about what is Mickey's Philharmagic at Disney's California Adventure.
It is Mickey's Philharmagic, just like Erik said. It is not in Fantasyland. It is in Disney's California Adventure. It also has 3 dimensions and a screen.
And a 4th dimension. Do they spit on you?
The dog does sneeze on you, yes.
Okay.
And there's a hot dog stand right outside that you
award wieners.
You can get an award wiener,
sure is.
An award weaning wiener to enjoy while you watch the show.
You can't eat in that theater, Dan.
I don't think anyone would notice. I think they'd just be happy that you were there.
They start passing out mustard packets.
Mine is sometimes closed if they're not busy.
Okay. Great.
So
all
it's
right.
well, hold on. I'll save that argument for later. My cost efficiency argument.
Oh boy.
Oh.
All right. Well,
I
let's
wasn't
get it.
prepared for cost efficiency.
You
What
don't
am I
have to
at
be.
work.
Okay, so then let's move on to the history of Mickey's Philharmagic at the Magic Kingdom. Go ahead and say the word magic a lot.
All right, magic. The magical beginning of Mickey, the Mickey's Philharmagic. Yes, Dan. What were you about to quip?
Wow, you just know. What if we just every once in a while we can call it Mickey's Philhar Sorcery?
Ooh.
That rolls right off the tongue. Sure does. Mickey's Philhar Sorcery. Yeah, I'm not going to say that anymore.
No, don't do it.
Began as the Mickey Mouse Revue on the opening day of Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom on October 1st, 1971. Much of this content, I should say, that I'm going to go through for this comes from Mike Lee and his excellent repository of ancient Walt Disney World history, Widen Your World. Look it up. It's one of the original fan sites out there for Walt Disney World. Tons of great information from somebody who was actually there. But yes, Walt, at some point in history, wanted to give the Enchanted Tiki Room treatment to all of the Disney characters and make a theater show where some of the characters would even be sitting in the audience heckling what was going on stage. I've seen this particular quote a few times. I have in mind a theater, and the figures will not only put on the show, but be sitting in the boxes with the visitors heckling. I don't know just when I'll do that.
That was an excellent impersonation of Barack Obama.
I was going to say, is Obama writing this?
Well,
beat me to it. I couldn't
Chicago.
unmute fast enough.
Speaking of the Tiki Room, I'm really looking forward to the end of this episode.
Yeah.
Getting back to the Tiki Room.
For sure.
Just saying. The pre-show of this particular attraction, because of course, the Imagineers did pull this together for the opening of the Magic Kingdom. They wanted to bring in that these classic characters, just like Walt had talked about, that were so missing from Disneyland. And so they pulled this together and created a show that started out where we told the story of Mickey Mouse in film as part of the pre-show. So while everybody's loading in to the theater, you're standing back, you're watching this history of animation. And then you'd head into the main theater itself, which was a gigantic theater. The Mickey Mouse Revue contains 73 Disney characters putting on a show conducted by the mouse himself. I say 73 characters because there were 81 animatronics, because some of the characters were duplicated around the stage, as I'll get to briefly. I'm not going to go into super huge detail here. I'll kind of cover the basics. If you really want a super in-depth look, go to Mike Lee's website and read that. He's got a lot. But yeah, let's see. So Mickey was the Mickey animatronic at the front. He was the conductor of the orchestra, and he was as complicated as Lincoln, which was even more impressive because he was half the size of Lincoln. He was 42 inches tall, this robotic Mickey. The orchestra, so as the show starts out, the curtain lifts, an orchestra containing 23 classic characters were revealed. Some of these characters were new classics. They would be classics to us because we're talking Minnie, Goofy, Daisy, Pluto, but also Dumbo, Winnie the Pooh, and a 6-foot-tall Baloo. So we've got some very small characters. Timothy Mouse was only a foot tall. Then we have Baloo the bear from the Jungle Book, who was 6 feet tall. Big range of characters here playing instruments. Pretty great.
These were all animatronics?
These are all animatronics.
Wow.
There were some projection effects at certain portions, but 81 animatronic characters throughout the show. The stage was 86 feet wide, and it had curtains off to the side, kind of like Carousel of Progress, that would open up and show different vignettes as you went through. So there was a Snow White scene. There was an Alice in Wonderland scene. The Three Caballeros scene was very elaborate because as the song progressed, Panchito would fire his pistols and the stage would go dark, and he'd fire his pistols, and then Donald would appear at a different part of the stage dancing. So the spotlight would pop up at various places around the stage, and he was dancing, and every time it would be punctuated with Panchito shooting a gun in a Walt Disney.
That was the scene transitions?
That was part of the song. The scene transitions were usually the curtains would raise or lower and things would move around.
Were they
was
like
just in one
turntables?
particular song. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And some of it was just staged because it was such a large place. You could raise certain portions of the curtain.
I just want to point out that if we were in an alternate universe where California Adventure gets the original version of Mickey's Philhar Sorcery, this is the part where I would joke about Erik presenting that the thing it replaced was actually better. However, the house I'm in currently in this argument
made of glass,
is made of the most fragile glass you've ever encountered.
Fabergé house,
like it's a breakaway glass that's made out of.
It's designed for actors to smash through if they walk near it.
Got it.
You could go if it was a bottle, you could like smush it with your hands, and yeah.
So
Excellent.
Erik, so far, this show you're talking about with all the animatronics, that's what the park opened with?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, a massive animatronic explosion. Further scenes, Cinderella, Song of the South, and then at the end, everybody sings and dances, and then Mickey alone sings the Mickey Mouse Club song with the audience. The curtains drop. It's been an amazing 9 minutes and 30 seconds. Somehow, so this started out as an e-ticket on day one, but somehow it didn't really connect with audiences and was eventually reduced to a D-ticket in 1973.
I had notes about the e-ticket conversation. Do we have that now?
Talk about it.
No. Should we have that conversation or should we wait?
Well, I mean, let's finish up the Tiki Room first.
Well, then let's do e-ticket conversation between just a breakup between Philharmagic.
Okay.
And,
okay.
All right. Cool.
Okay.
Keep going. History.
All right. Yeah. Go to widenyourworld.blogspot.com and look up. There's a full list of characters. Just a massive group. It's really an impressive attraction, but yeah, it didn't connect with audiences at the time. The attraction closed on September 14th, 1980. Now, what was going on at the time? Tokyo Disneyland was being designed, and executives from the Oriental Land Company came to Disneyland and then to Walt Disney
World. That's what it's actually called. He's not just describing a company that he doesn't know the name of.
That's right. It was a bunch of that's the name of the company. Oriental Land. It's still the name of the company.
It is.
And every time I hear it or say it like that, something in my brain's like,
right. It's like I was watching a show that shall remain nameless. It was news related, and they were talking about Indians. They were referring to Native Americans, and it's just something odd. Like, we know that they weren't Indians. They never were Indians.
Right.
And we still call them Indians. Now, it feels like it's okay to say cowboys and Indians because it's kind of like a brand, right? But something about talking about Native Americans today as Indians just feels like Oriental Land Company. It's like something just feels off by that. Right. But I mean, it is whatever. I mean, anyway, continue. Sorry.
Yes. Good
Maybe that's how we're woke, by the way.
I did do a whole segment once on the cigar store Indian.
That's what he was called.
Oh, yeah.
But times changed. Keep going.
Yeah, times change, and we're cutting into Tiki time. Let's see. Tokyo Disneyland underway. So execs came out to look at the place. They really liked the Mickey Mouse review, and they wanted Disney to recreate the attraction at Tokyo Disneyland. Well, since ticket sales were flagging for the attraction and it wasn't being filled up, this massive theater, they said, you know what? It would be cheaper to just disassemble the thing and ship it to Japan than to recreate 81 animatronic figures. And so they did.
Wow. A transplant from Magic Kingdom in Florida to Japan.
Right. And so the attraction was ported over to Japan, where it played for 26 years. in Tokyo Disneyland until it was replaced by Mickey's Philharmagic.
Oh god.
Oh.
And some of the figures came back. The original molds for the Seven Dwarfs and Snow White were reused in Walt Disney World for the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and for the Snow White's Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. And the original animatronic figures were reused in the Three Caballeros ride in Epcot's Mexico Pavilion.
That's why the heads keep falling off.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So those animatronics are like from 1971?
Yeah.
That is why the head keeps falling off.
Sometimes they're cardboard cutouts.
That's right. With a sombrero on top.
Right. So after that closed and then and went away, this is a major part of Fantasyland. As you walk past the castle, it's on your left. It's a few doors down from the castle itself, and it's primetime real estate, and it's been closed for a few months. Well,
Dan, are there any hot dog stands on the way?
That's a good question.
I'm going to say no.
No, I don't think there are.
Yeah.
All right.
The food comes a little bit further in at Friar's Nook, which is on the right.
Are there hot dogs?
As it kind of opens up. They have fries. I think they have hot dogs at Friar's Nook.
All right, I'll reserve judgment.
I generally don't go there. I'll have to look it up while Dan's talking. You can also go to Pinocchio's Village House. Oh, no.
Ooh, when are we going to do the Village House?
Oh, God. Oh, that's a good one.
Because it's not called Village House anymore, but it used to be, and we could do Village House versus Rose's Tavern. Or
Red Roses versus Pinocchio's Village House.
Bell's,
I like it.
It's Bell's Grotto. What
Bell's
is it?
Magical.
It's Red Rose Tavern.
They have a good sandwich. No, they don't.
I've heard.
Never mind. Good breakfast sandwich. I thought it was a good. Here's the thing. I thought it was going to be a good breakfast sandwich when I ordered it, and then when I ate it, I was like, not so good.
Our friend from the Knott's Berry Farm YouTube channel that we did that episode with, he said that was the best pizza in the park.
That wouldn't surprise me because the only other pizza in the park is the Alien Pizza Planet port.
That's a good point. All right. Tiki time, people. Tiki.
Yeah. All right, sorry.
Stay focused here.
All right. What happened next?
What happened next was Magic Journeys. December 15th, 1987, Magic Journeys opened up in the same theater space. Magic Journeys was an attraction that opened with Epcot Center in 1982 on opening day. Next to Journey into Imagination, it's that theater next to it that sometimes does Pixar shorts and generally doesn't do a whole lot of anything these days.
Was it a 3D show?
It is definitely a 3D show.
Predecessor of Honey, I Shrunk the Audience,
well, and Captain EO.
And Captain EO.
Yeah.
By the way, I'd like to award a point, Eric, to Mickey's Philharmagic because of the animatronic characters alive and well at Epcot. Just the reuse of the animatronics. I think that was a really cool point. So,
all right.
Hello.
Thank you. Well,
so they figured Magic Journey is Magic Kingdom, perfect fit.
They put a lot of work into that feature to get it ready on day one because they sure didn't have Journey into Imagination ready on day one, and Kodak wanted something to be ready. So the film is the trippiest thing. I've seen it multiple times in my youth. Jimmy, Dan, do you remember seeing Magic Journeys? Because it did play in Disneyland for a while.
No,
I never saw the 3D version. I've tried to watch the YouTube version, and it's almost unwatchable. But
I bet, yeah,
you definitely get a feel for like, oh,
it's so weird. It's this. They say it's a journey through the eyes of a child, but it's this child who is like playing with friends and then blows all the petals off of a dandelion, all the little seeds off of a dandelion. And they fly at you, and then they become stars, and then everything like morphs into something else. And everything's a very 3D thing. Like kids are flying a kite. Well, that kite's going to fly at your face. And then there are kids on a carousel. They're reaching for the brass ring. I remember that brass ring so clearly. Like some of these things, then they're looking at a cat. The cat becomes the Sphinx in Egypt, and then it turns into a lion at a circus. And then you're looking at trapeze artists, And the whole thing ends where this creepy magician at the circus is doing tricks, and then it kind of rewinds and turns back into the dandelion unblowing itself, and then the movie ends. It's trippy as all get out. It's a very late
Nothing
70s
says
thing
Magic
for
Kingdom.
1982. Yeah, and it's in the Magic Kingdom. And I'm sure I saw it at Epcot and at the Magic Kingdom. It's so it's so weird. And I love that I still remember it so clearly.
So the show goes to Tokyo, the Mickey animatronic show.
Uh-huh.
They replaced that with Magic Journeys in 1980.
It's a long period of time.
But it opened at Epcot in 82?
Uh-huh. So
was it playing
1987 is when it opened in the Magic Kingdom.
Oh, after it went away. So it was, this building's empty from 80 to 87.
Yeah.
Okay. So then it goes to Epcot, and it's there until 87, 86, presumably because it was replaced by Honey, I Shrunk the Audience?
No. It started at Epcot day one in 1982, the movie.
Well, why did it go to Magic Kingdom is my question.
It went to Magic Kingdom because Captain EO was coming.
Captain EO, excuse me. Thank you. Sorry.
That's why. Yeah, got booted for that. Let's see. Yeah. So then Magic Journeys closed December 1st, 1993. Several months later, The Legend of the Lion King comes in July 8th, 1994. I have never seen this. I have only read about it. I haven't tried to watch a video of it or anything. Giant puppets. Like Mufasa is 6 feet tall and 7 feet long.
Which I'm assuming they moved over to the Animal Kingdom, one would assume.
That was a different show.
I think I did see this show. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't see my thing. I think I did see the Lion King show when I went in like 95,
mid-90s,
96. Would that be correct, Eric?
Yeah.
Sounds
that
right.
would be in there.
And I remember, I think it must have been on my first day visiting the Magic Kingdom, like ever. And I remember having this feeling of, oh, this is a show where they kind of like show bits of the movie and then the puppets will do the thing that's on the screen in puppet form in front of the screen. And then they will try to get the audience to clap along to songs. It was a very interesting experience because it was the first time that I felt like, oh, so this is one of the things that's different about Disney World compared to Disneyland, because this would not fly at Disneyland. But at Disney World, it's like, it's for the kids. And it's like, it makes sense that you have all the space. You're like, well, what if we did like a Chuck E. Cheese show, basically? Like, and yeah, it was, and I don't want to say it was bad. It was just, and people seemed to enjoy it. It was just coming at it from my point of view. It was like, why isn't this like basically like a indoor nighttime spectacular version of the Lion King? You know what I mean? Like, I expected it to be plus up to the point where you're like, so that's why they built it. It has to exist. Someone had this amazing idea of how to like really reimagine this story, but it's just like, no, it's just the story. It's everything you've seen before, but with puppets.
with puppets, it was on a bigger stage, 125 feet long.
Wow.
So they've redone the theater to do this.
Wow. Okay. So you don't feel like it was just a temporary thing until they put in something they were planning?
It lasted 8 years.
Wow.
So they were not planning Philharmagic.
So then it closed down for Philharmagic.
Right. Closed February 23rd, 2002. Philharmagic opens October 8th, 2003.
George, and by that time, I mean, if I remember correctly, Lion King was it was one of the first properties where Disney really kind of possibly over milked that cow to bring back another joke. But like they
in the parades, and
it was kind.
Yeah,
they kind of frozened it a little bit, and they hadn't at that point really like figured out how to do it in a way that didn't give people property fatigue.
Well, at the time, it was the highest grossing Disney cartoon of all time.
Right. And at the time, I mean, that was right after. That was when they were like, "Hey, we're actually hitting gold here. Let's dig." So, I mean, I understand it, but it was also, I think, the first time, at least in my memory, that it was just like, "Okay, guys, I can't possibly see another Lion King thing. Please stop."
For the listeners, when Dan said dig, 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 he was not speaking of diamonds, which would be more appropriate. He was speaking about gold. Anyway.
I wasn't talking about in our mind where a million diamonds shine.
That's right.
Well, my wife just came home. There will be dogs barking.
Great.
Yeah. So production of the attraction Philharmagic. George Scribner was the director. He directed Oliver and Company and the Prince and the Pauper short. That's where Mickey and Mickey trade places, much like the movie.
Trading Places?
I was trying to think of something else, and then my mind vacated. So there we go. We'll just go with the regular answer instead of the answer that would have been funnier. Sorry. But George Scribner was also an animator on The Smurfs.
You could have said Freaky Friday. And then remember that there was a whole time in like the 80s, 90s where there was a bunch of movies.
Body swapping.
Body swaps. Like somebody, it was like Judge Reinhold did one. And then they remade Freaky Friday. There was
Paul
a whole
Rudd
thing.
And Jason Bateman just did one on Netflix called The Change Up. There we go. Pretend I said The Change Up.
All right. Edit that out.
I'm the editor. I won't do that.
Okay.
Hot Girl? Was Hot Girl one of them? No, that's just
the hot chick.
Hot chick.
Yeah, that was Rob Schneider swapping with a hot chick.
Right.
All right.
But here's where I'm going with this. George Scribner was also one of the animators on A Chipmunk Christmas.
Stay tuned for Scraping the Vault, special Christmas episode, A Chipmunk Christmas from 1983. I love this man.
There we go. So now we're done. Dan, go for it.
Okay. Mickey's Philhar Sorcery Magic is also a 4D attraction film. And it was also directed by George Scribner because it's the same. It used to be a little something called Muppet Vision 3D. We will probably talk about Muppet Vision 3D at some point in depth. On some podcast is going to need to cover that, I think. Because it doesn't exist on both coasts, but it does still exist in Florida.
True.
And it's a beloved attraction, just as it was in Disney's California Adventure. It featured all the Muppets doing all their whimsical things in 3D, and it was a good show. And they closed it.
And that was the last thing that Jim Henson worked on.
Yeah, but they don't really know how to deal with the Muppets at all in the parks, even though it seems to be the most obvious thing because animatronics are just giant puppets with robots inside of them. But for some reason, they're like, no, we can't do this. I suspect it's because the deeper you dig into Jim Henson lore, the more it's clear that he's just a giant hippie and has all these values that Disney's like, I don't know. Do we address that? I don't know. That's speculation on my part. But anyway, it was introduced to Disney World in 2003, just as Erik said. And then they said, hey, let's put it in California Adventure. And I'm sure some Imagineer or some construction worker or someone said, but this is several people's literal favorite thing. And one of the reasons, and some people come here only for this. And probably Paul Pressler was like, la, 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 la. I can't hear you because there's currently people that are in grave danger over at the other park because we won't fix anything. So they got rid of it, and they opened Philharmagic, and they said, should we make it a giant screen with all of the effects and everything in Florida? And they were like, nah, why should we do that? This is so much better, and it's so much more cost effective. Speaking of cost effectiveness, sometimes this attraction isn't open during the slower periods. Luckily, those periods don't exist anymore. It opened on April 26th, 2019 as part of the Get Your Ears On Mickey and Minnie celebration. And then Bob Iger took over and it got better, but this show still exists. Wait, no, Bob Iger was before that. Damn you, Bob Iger.
New Bob.
There we go.
I have a couple of things to say.
Yes.
Thing number one,
Okay.
for our listener, there have been more than one Chipmunk Christmas special. The one I'm referring to was 1981, and it was written by not George whatever.
He was an animator. He
Soros.
wasn't the writer.
Animator. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
In which case, I take it back. 3 points to Disney, Mickey's Philharmagic, because of the history that it had, which was Muppet Vision 3D, arguably the best 3D show ever.
Hi, I'm Huell Hauser. Hi, I'm Huell Hauser.
And a negative 3 points for replacing Muppet Vision 3D.
Hi, I'm Huell Hauser. Hi, I'm Huell Hauser.
That's where he was going with it.
Yep. All right. Excellent. So I have some, before we get to the show itself and the queue and how it impacts the land, we have need to take a break for our ad sponsor. I have some new copy from, you guys have heard us talk about Single Writers. Single Writers has sent us a new ad. So I'm going to read it here.
Oh, good.
Your attention, please.
Kroger Delivery has one mission: to deliver the freshest food right to your door. That's why our drivers are pros. Our trucks are refrigerated. And when it comes to low prices, we always deliver. With $20 off your first order of $75 or more, there's no better time to get in on the action. Mission accomplished. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
This episode is brought to you by AWS. Amazon Q Business is the new generative AI assistant from AWS. Many tasks can make business slow, like wading through mud.
Help!
Luckily, there's a faster, easier, less messy choice. Amazon Q can securely understand your business data to help you streamline tasks, like summarizing quarterly results or doing complex analyses in no time. Q got this. Learn what Amazon Q Business can do for you at aws.com/learn more.
Is yours in like clear and concise English? Because they never send me that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I assume I haven't read it yet. Okay. Excuse me. Are you feeling lonely? Do you love theme parks but feel alienated by your asinine knowledge that is not very typical of a functioning human adult? Do you listen to the Supreme Resort? Then you are likely very lonely and very single. Wait, that's not very nice. Single Riders is a dating app that connects fellow Disney theme park lovers like you. Single Riders finds a match based on your Google search history to find a person who also has a swastika tattoo on their forehead. Okay. Single Riders now offers fashionable clothing that brings your true passions to life, and every garment is monogrammed SS.
Well,
Maybe you can meet your match when we have a Single Riders meetup at next month's Wagner Fest.
it'd be SR.
Just like Disney parks, you'll be able to find Wagner Fest. Just like Disney parks, you'll be able to find walk-around characters you love to meet and greet with. You won't find Mickey and Minnie here, but you can get your photo taken with walk-around Goebbels and Gehring.
It's odd.
Being single can be hard, and you might find it as a problem. But here at Single Riders, we always say, for every problem, there's a final solution.
Oh,
Single riders. We're always watching.
I mean, they could have just said solution.
I don't know.
I mean,
I think
they could have said one of several solutions, not like the final.
SS, like
it's CSR, right?
I think for Supreme Resort.
Well, for single riders.
Oh, gotcha. I think this company's gone in a terrible direction.
Sorry to those of you who have subscribed.
Goebbels and Gehring?
Since we started this?
I noticed that Elon Musk recently retweeted several of their more hateful
the single riders posts?
I didn't even know they had a presence on X.
All right. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and talk to producer David, and we don't need their money. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I think we can politely decline.
Okay, moving on. Let's go to the queue for Mickey's Philharmagic at Magic Kingdom.
Okay.
Thank you.
The Well, thanks, Jimmy, for at least reading through the entire copy so we can at least get paid for this last episode.
That's right. That will be the last you'll hear of single riders, ladies and gentlemen.
Look, if I wasn't going to Disneyland in a couple days, I would refuse the money. But, I mean, I need my churros.
That's like a whole chimichanga.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Tell us about the queue, Eric, at Magic Kingdom's Philharmagic.
I'd love to. The exterior of this building is similar to the rest of Fantasyland, where you have some switchbacks that go underneath a canopy. So you've got shade as the queue begins. You have a portion that kind of juts out into the walkway with Philharmagic in script that reads a subtitle underneath, A Concert with Character. There's also a golden crown on a red spire up ahead.
Also, listener, if you are in the switchbacks for Mickey's Philharmagic outside but covered, probably not a good day to be at the park.
Yeah, because the lines generally aren't very long.
Mm-hmm. I would say before leaving, check the app and see how Inside Your Imagination starring Figment is. How long? Look at how long that line is.
Yeah, that'll be indicative.
Similar. Go to Universal Studios.
There you
go. Inside, you go through more switchbacks in a heavily air-conditioned hallway, and you see some movie posters, including I Pagliacci, performed by Willie the Whale from 1946's Make Mine Music. You have Hades Sings Torch Songs, Ariel's choral group, A Must See, SEA, Genie Sings the Blues, and An Evening with Wheezy from Toy Story 2. So fun posters as you walk through. Again, you won't have a whole lot of time to hang out and look at them because you're probably moving pretty quick into the pre-show area where it's a large tiered area where you get to hang out and wait in that glorious air conditioning and listen to some Disney music while you're standing there, some orchestral Disney music. And there you go. Once the attraction opens, the doors open ahead of you, and you find your seat inside the spacious theater. There's a giant stage in front of you. Point your body toward that when you sit down in the chair, and you're ready for the show.
As an example, right now the Figment ride is 15 minutes wait. That's not a good sign.
Yeah, isn't 15 kind of the default? Do they go down to 5?
5 is the default.
Oh.
I think they might have put 15 because that's how long the show is.
Mickey's Philharmagic currently at 15.
That would make more sense because it is.
Anyway.
Yeah.
That's a good point because you can't wait 5 minutes if the show just started.
I think they started doing that recently. Let me check DCA. Hold on.
All right. So that is, I really want to celebrate. I'm a sucker for a pun, very much like in the Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway in
award
Disneyland.
Winners. Hello.
Fair.
Not the queue.
So that is true. That's fair. Anyway, I kind of want to celebrate those posters, but I got to hear what Dan has to say about his queue.
guest encounter posters advertising past productions and performers in the concert hall. In the theater lobby, guests pick up opera glasses, which are 3D glasses, and we hear orchestral music coming from Disney animated films.
It's pretty darn similar.
Is it?
They've got the same posters.
It possibly less, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
It's a bigger space.
There is at least there's a sign up above that says what the thing is. That's cool. Mm-hmm. It's got Mickey Mouse on it.
That's true.
It's
Magic
an LED
Kingdom
screen,
also.
so if they want to put the Dodger game on, they can.
Well, I don't know. Help me out here. So
I wish you could.
Because we decided a long time ago that just because it's bigger, that's not Disneyland's fault.
Right. That's
no, it's okay. Well, it's
just a little
bit. I think I've mentioned before that they have Who Wants to Be a Millionaire play at that old building, where they currently are housing Regis Philbin's frozen corpse. Wait, sorry, too soon.
It's just
they could have. Yes, and it's a thumbs up. They could have, if they wanted to, built the full version of Mickey's Philharmagic in that building, I suspect, because it's much bigger. And they did not. Instead, they were like, hey, what if we get rid of Muppet Vision 3D and put in Philharmagic? And then one of those same Imagineers and maybe that same construction worker was like, oh, great, you're going to bring in all the in-theater effects and the giant screen, and you're going to do that really cool slow reveal that people are like wowed by at just the right time.
We're not getting to the show itself yet.
And they were like, no, we're not. And then
I need to pause for just a second. I don't know what the dogs are doing. You can talk amongst yourselves if you like.
I'll just keep going. And those same people were like, okay, so you're probably going to change what the theater looks like, so when people go inside, they won't get sad that the Muppet Vision show isn't here anymore. And they were like, no, we didn't really. We thought about it, but then we saw that it's going to cost more than like $5. So we were like, no, we don't. We have a gift card for Home Depot, and it's not that amount. So thank you.
Dan, Eric's gone now. Can we talk about how lit up he got when I was reading the copy for Single Riders? And then he got on his phone and he like downloaded the app immediately. Did you notice that?
Well, to be fair, we don't know what he was doing.
Why was he smiling so much when I said SS?
Maybe he thought it was like a Star Wars reference or I don't know.
Well, I noticed he covered up his forehead when I said the thing about the swastika tattoo. Do you think he wrote the copy?
I don't know. It would certainly be surprising. It would be quite the twist if it turned out to be like not only the most unhinged out of the three of us, but like that unhinged.
Yeah, interesting. Anyway, so I think the point is that the queue. I don't want to give it. I guess I'm going to have to just punish California Adventure for replacing Muppets again. It seems, I guess the point is that Magic Kingdom seems a lot more intentional and it feels like a theater.
Yeah.
You know, that you're walking into in a lobby and whatever. It feels very much like how the Great Movie Ride used to feel, you know, at the switchbacks inside and you saw like garments from old, Gone with the Wind or whatever. It felt very similar, like going into a theater like that. So
to be fair, they did remove elements of the Muppet Vision waiting area to make the Philharmagic area. And I think they probably repainted it, and they added some, three-dimensional character type things.
Well, I'll tell you what then.
Static.
Because I don't know enough, I'm going to go ahead and just be neutral with the queue and no points. No points awarded. It's not going to be necessary.
I agree. I agree. It's not going to be. I mean, I wish there were more. I do actually have some semblance of an argument as to like a little bit of what's better, or in some way, like the show isn't better, but I mean, we can get into it when Eric's back. But
do we want to? I'm not going to have enough time to do Tiki Room. Should we?
Let's try. Because
Okay.
I know how much it means to Erik.
All right.
So, hey, speaking of Eric's back, I wonder if his back's hurting from carrying the show so
Right? And every other show, he's got like 17 podcasts now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I don't know how entertaining this is. If you're new to the show, Erik has literally walked away. We may not cut this because I don't think Erik listens to the show. So you may just hear us rambling.
He'll cut this part out. He'll cut parts of this out. He'll cut the parts that I think need to be cut out.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, of course he's going to cut those parts out because he's going to be like, no, they found me. They figured it out.
Erik's not a Nazi. Not a Nazi.
Yeah, I'm looking at Yesterland for the Muppet Vision.
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember that the entrance used to be on the other side of the building, like facing the Hollywood to this backlot area?
The entrance
that
to
area actually had something going for it.
Muppet Vision 3D. I do remember that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of like made a tie-in sort of with like why that area looked so crappy. It was like, well, the Muppets did it. But no, not anymore. Now it's just crappy.
Yep. Erik is back. And Erik, you may want to listen back just in case you want to cut
didn't give me
anything.
an edit-free episode.
I may have. We'll see.
Oh,
it's up to you.
Maybe
it's up to you, mister.
I'm a doctor, actually.
I notice your bangs have lowered, but interesting. Okay, so we've decided...
Yes, I grew my bangs out while I was upstairs.
I've decided that we're going to keep it neutral because we can't. I can't really fault Philharmagic DCA for the Muppets again.
The cues are similar.
Yeah, I'm just going to let's keep it neutral and move on to the show itself. So, Erik, I believe the scenes are all the same, but there's some Dan already kind of alluded to it, the dramatic difference. So I'll let you tell the story of the current version of Philharmagic.
Okay. Well, even though we've decided that we really can't say bigger is better, the screen at Walt Disney World is 150 feet long and 24 feet high. It's also curved.
I think Dan already made the point that in this case, it is in fact Disneyland's fault because they had the room. They could have made this happen.
100%.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, this attraction marks the first time that Mickey Mouse was rendered in CGI, and also the first time Mickey Mouse was in 3D. Agrabah in the Aladdin scene, this was the largest space ever created in CGI at the time. The attraction is wheelchair and ECV accessible, and it has Genie Plus, I guess, but you probably shouldn't use that.
No, you shouldn't. You should not. I don't want to I don't want to cut into Tiki Time too much, but I just want to say you should not.
Man,
right.
The dog diversion was
unless it's closed. How about I got to tell you, if it's closed, and it's closed like currently, and there's Lightning Lane open currently, grab it because then you'll get Shkreli Pass, as I call them.
Oh, right. Yeah. Good point. So, but Erik, I think it's probably important. You kind of you skipped ahead of yourself. You talk about the screen. I think for those people at Disneyland who have not seen Mickey's Philharmagic in Disney World, you should probably paint that picture.
It's, 150 feet long. It's enormous. The theater is very large.
Right, but it's not 150 feet long when you sit down, is my point.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes,
I'm talking about the reveal that you don't get at Disneyland.
Right. Yeah. When the curtain first rises, it's a smaller portion of screen that then expands as the movie progresses. Expands to the left and right with a big reveal. I do like the little side things that Dan will maybe talk about at Disneyland, the little side screens. Those are kind of cool.
Why?
I thought it was a clever way of replicating the effect that you have at Walt Disney World, which is so massive and impressive. Like, holy cow, it's impressive as opposed to, oh, it's clever. They're trying.
So that's the fundamental point here is they tried, but not very hard. So what's impressive is a opening with an orchestra, Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse, and Donald comes in to tool around and he grabs the wand and puts on the hat and everything kind of goes haywire. And when everything goes dark, the proscenium stage, the proscenium arch lifts out of the way and the reveal of a 150-foot screen that feels very much like Impressions de France, the whole, and it's seamless screen too.
Right.
And there's nothing, unless you've been on it before, or unless you have an obnoxious friend that's just like, wait to see what happens. Like and this is, I think, I remember first time I saw it, my jaw dropped and I was like, actually just amazed because nothing in this up to that point tells you that that's a possibility. It's like, oh, I'm just going to see this thing. It's in Fantasyland. Yeah. It's like my friend and I said to each other after watching Interstellar, like they didn't say Matt Damon wasn't in the movie. It's like it's like that thing where it's where it's just like, oh, this is a thing that I wasn't. It's like that same treat as like if you watch Fight Club for the first time, telling yourself, yes, this is just going to be a dumb action movie. When it ceases to be that, it's so much more rewarding.
Right. So anyway, the reveal, and Eric, I don't want to step on your toes. Do you want to talk about scene by scene?
Yeah, I can go through the scenes pretty quick here because, I'm kind of trying to gear up toward Tiki time here. But before we get to the scenes, we'll do another boring list of voice actors. I'm not going to do the full thing for brevity because most of the voice actors are the original voice actors.
Do we need to find music for this segment?
Eric talks about people. Eric talks about people talking. I probably have some good ones that I could layer on behind this. This one will be pretty quick. Worth noting, Wayne Allwine was the voice of Mickey at the time. Wayne was the third official Mickey after Walt and Jimmy McDonald.
Hey guys, I got a joke for you.
Yeah?
What does Wayne drink when he goes to the bar?
What?
All wine.
Oh.
That paid off.
Thanks for listening.
All right, another chapter break. Who am I kidding? I can't figure out chapter break.
If Chris Provost is listening, he just lost his mind.
He's lost it.
Chris, give us a call.
Did you hear that? What?
Chris, we'd love to work with you on your next video.
And his wife's probably like sitting there watching him react.
Daughter.
Oh, God.
Getting ready to give him a kidney punch.
No, that's his wife.
Okay.
Wayne started as the voice of Mickey in 1977, and he played Mickey for 32 years. He's the longest-running Mickey actor. He was also married to Russie Taylor, who portrayed Minnie Mouse, also in this feature. Let's see. Clarence Ducky Nash, who was the original voice of Donald Duck, was most of the voice work for Donald in this feature. So they used archival footage for most of Donald's lines. But Tony Anselmo, who was playing Donald at the time, subbed in for 5 lines. And then pretty much everybody else in the feature are the same voice actors you know and love from all the things that you know and love.
Speaking of Donald Duck, I would like to make an argument against your attraction, because he has a creepy attraction to a very young Ariel in Little Mermaid.
That's a good point, but that's true for both. No,
what? Oh,
yeah, that does happen in both. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
happens in Tokyo too, and Paris. This ride's everywhere, folks.
It's a good show.
Yeah,
it is. It is when it's the full thing. Yes, it's very good. It's very good.
All right, so we got the voice actors. Then what are the show scenes?
All right, show scenes. We start out. Goofy is the stage manager. He gets zapped as he tries to get things rolling. I will say, here's a little scientician spotlight for you. If you say someone got electrocuted, they died. If you got shocked, then you received a blast of electricity, but you survived. Congratulations. Just a little bit of semantics there for you.
Great. So, if I recall correctly, you see the outline of Goofy getting zapped behind the curtain, maybe?
Is it a projection on the curtain, or is it a back projection?
I don't know. Let's forget about it.
Yeah, okay.
Past show correction.
Suddenly you're like questioning a thing. I'm like, I literally watched that this morning.
I'm not remembering because I have only seen the California Adventure version for several years, and it's not there.
Okay. All right. Minnie Mouse asks you to put on your opera glasses.
Dutch Minnie Mouse.
I can't talk. These are regular 3D glasses. They're not opera glasses, really, people. It's just regular. You need to have them on, though, so to make it cool. Nothing is ready for the performance. Mickey runs off, and Donald, who is sleeping nearby, finds Mickey's sorcerer hat and wand. He dons the hat, and there's a whirlwind of music as the instruments start coming to life. You feel wind blowing. Jimmy, are you weighing in on the topic? Okay, no, he's just leaning forward to the mic.
You do feel wind. You do feel wind blowing. Less so. We'll get to.
It's pretty intense.
Actually, you know what? Let's do play by play. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Wind at California Adventure. It's less intense for our more sensitive viewers. How about that?
Well, there you go. Okay. We start out at Beauty and the Beast during the Be Our Guest scene, which plays through the song. Donald's involved.
That is the actual reveal. That scene. And I don't know if you were going to get to it, but because
when the proscenium moves, yes,
right. Because as far as we know, it's still just tiny screen. Everything's blowing around. I mean, the screen does slowly expand to. I'm obsessed with how this thing works with reveals because it's awesome to me.
Then go ahead and describe it.
Because every scene has a purpose in the reveal until it runs out of reveals to do and it ends, which is lovely. So if I remember correctly, when the fans go on, the original screen expands to like just a bigger screen.
Mm-hmm.
And then darkness, and then we see a match get lit, and then once that opens up to the full scene, we get the giant reveal of the huge screen.
Yeah, and it's just the drawing back of the curtain. The proscenium arch lifts up into the fly space, and the curtain just pulls back, and then it pulls back more, and pulls back more. Yeah.
Yeah, just keeps going. It is very impressive, and
it introduces fragrance to where it's like, oh, we have that now too.
Right, we've got food smells coming in during the show there.
The apple pie smell, maybe. Mm-hmm. That's the fourth dimension we're dealing with. The Smellitzers.
Right. When the champagne bottles pop, we get a little spritz, get a little moist. Well, yeah, let's see. Any other effects in that scene? I think that's kind of it.
That's kind of it. And it really sets the stage for like, okay, this is what we're doing here.
Right. And if you're at Disneyland or California Adventure, similar sense and things like that, but instead of that proscenium and the widening of the curtain, they're just smaller screens next to the main screen.
Yeah, so they have you have the screen on which Muppet Vision 3D used to be projected, and they have the proscenium is projected with projected curtains because they didn't want to build curtains because again the gift card at Home Depot was only for so much, and then when we have that reveal, we get some fans, but it's kind of like the equivalent of the cannon sound at Pirates of the Caribbean and Magic Kingdom, where instead of a blast, it's like, so it's kind of that sensation, but in fan form. And then the next thing, you can tell that they thought about it, and they were like, okay, well, what if we just, instead of having a reveal of the big ass screen, what if we have the framing of the image kind of like slowly expand throughout this Be Our Guest thing, which like you can almost feel them in like Adobe Premiere being like, how about this? What if we did that? And then it slowly expands. And as it expands, you can see like the letterboxing, because the format's weird. There's like a weird sort of like, it gets to a point where the image is too big for the screen. So then it kind of like shrinks down a little bit on some way. But while that's happening, so you don't notice unless you've been on it too many times and have, I think it's built with the idea that no one will return. So if you have returned, you will notice that then the formatting gets weirder on the main screen. But while that happens, the sides of the building turn into screens as well, but not entirely, because the structure of the building is still Muppet Vision 3D. So it still has like little columns that you're dealing with. So no matter what, it is always, you are in the building you're in, and the movie is happening outside the building.
Right. So it's not seamless is the point. It's not like
that's
immersion.
Another way of saying that.
Yeah. There are slashes of screen off to the sides.
They tried.
They did try.
You
I
can
appreciate
tell that. You can tell that after the initial decision making was made of like, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. You can tell that the creative team that was put in that limitation box was like, okay, well, we can do this.
What are we going to cut out of the picture?
Yeah.
How can we fit as much in as possible?
Right.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
And I'm pretty sure Statler and Waldorf are still up there in that building.
Oh, you bet they're
for
still
sure.
up there.
Which makes me so sad.
Sad and happy.
They probably have harvested several gears for Statler and Waldorf in Florida.
Every time I go in there, I look up there, like, it's right there.
Wouldn't it be great if they came out and commented on this show?
They should. They absolutely should.
It's a lot bigger in Disney World.
I'm not even joking. That would save this if they 100%. Would just be like, well, what do you expect? Nobody watched our show. I know why. Ho, ho, ho. I mean, they have better writers, right? But yeah.
Do they?
So,
I mean, we can do it.
Anyway, so let's get this over with so we can get on to Tiki Room.
Fantasia comes next, where we're looking at the Sorcerer's Apprentice portion. The marching brooms are marching, and we get water sprayed on us because, of course, we do. And let's see, Little Mermaid. Donald tries to kiss Ariel, a young teenager, a tween maybe, and an eel shocks him.
To be clear, not electrocutes.
Yes, to be clear, not electrocutes. This is actually where I was going to put in the scientician spotlight, but I did it earlier. But now we all know that he was not electrocuted. Lion King comes next. Simba and his friends sing I Just Can't Wait to Be King. I like the effects as they switch into a more abstract thing where there are flowers around and like Simba's in the middle of one of them, and really great imagery. And hey, Zazu is here, which reminds me of the history for the Enchanted Tiki Room where I'm prepared to talk about under new management when Zazu and Iago joined the Birds.
That's right.
They were silently rejected and died by fire, because that's interesting, right? Like, we agree? That's really interesting. Yeah. We can't wait to talk
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry, I keep jumping ahead.
Yes, spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. Coco, a new segment added to all of the versions of Philharmagic. Everybody sings Un Poco Loco, which is my favorite song from the movie. Yeah, it started out in DCA and then was added to Tokyo, Paris, and finally Walt Disney World.
Well, fine. Have I talked about award wieners?
Not this minute.
Okay.
Peter Pan, You Can Fly, and then Tinkerbell Pixie Dust's Donald, so he can fly too.
By the way, when we're watching in DCA, this is when the building, the seamfulness of it becomes very clear, because it's like the building is flying now.
The building is what?
The building is flying now. Because with it feels like it feels like the building is flying, whereas because there's visual stuff in the way, the building itself is in the way.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, it's they're trying. They tried. They try.
They tried.
Continue to try.
They did try. I don't know if I'm making it clear enough. They did try, but you can feel the limitations. It's like throwing a big party with a $10 budget. It's like, or like, hey, we're gonna do a fashion show, but it's all from Big Lots. Like they're still trying.
All right. So after Coco.
Yeah, after Coco, after Peter Pan, we've got Aladdin, Part of Your World. They're on the carpet because Donald's flying now. And throughout this entire thing, Donald is trying to get the sorcerer's hat back so that he can gain control of the show. Finally, he gets it. There's a giant whirlwind. If you're at Walt Disney World, you feel like you're getting blown out of your seat. It's so immersive.
If you're at DCA, you get it's a nice gentle breeze, not overwhelming. Because I mean, just to be fair, they don't have the space.
There are 7 nice men who have little handheld fans with the spray bottles. They're walking through.
I guess I wouldn't be so hard on this if it wasn't like you have a empty building behind this building, and you could have just
massive soundstage
done it there, kept Muppet Vision open. Yeah, you have 3D movie next to 3D movie, but like it's
what else
better.
Are you gonna do?
It's better than 3D movie next to nothing.
I mean, you got Spider-Man shooter game adjacent to Toy Story shooter game.
The Avengers store that they sometimes open.
It's not anymore. It's not there anymore.
Oh, okay. Like, we don't want to sell any more of this junk.
No, they sell the same junk, but now it's in
the campus.
It's at Avengers Campus. The building
right.
There's the building they're supposedly going to build the e-ticket in.
Yeah.
So they now have it so that you know how like you have those characters that fight above that store, and how people like want to stop and watch the thing. They have it so that you can't do that now because you have to have an opening for the store.
Oh,
I love Disneyland. I think it's when they do things right, they really do things right. But holy supreme, all
right, so he gets the hat back. So Jasmine puts it on his head. Iago knocks it off his head. He falls down. Then everything resets.
Right. Big whirlwind. We're back to the orchestra. And
proscenium back in.
Right. Mickey picks up the hat.
By the way, Eric, did you figure out what the mechanism is that makes that thing go sloop back in so quickly? Because it moves, that structural thing moves fast. And I know I've said this before, but I am so impressed with it. And every time I'm like, goshers, like it spins, it comes back in at a speed that something that size should not move at.
Well, it's not very thick. It's lightweight, and it's just fly space. Just you've been to theater. They pull it up, they drop it down.
I believe you, but it's just the effect is so impressive. It looks like a very large, heavy thing.
Oh yeah, it does look like it's solid, but it definitely isn't. Yeah.
I mean, it's impressive in that it probably is a very dumb, easy effect, just like, it's fly space, like you said.
Right,
but it's done so well, and it's so impressive that it's like I will watch that show just for that effect.
Right. Okay, so Mickey grabs the hat.
Donald gets knocked into a tuba by the flute that's playing the Mickey Mouse Club theme. at the beginning that Donald's annoyed with. And he gets fired off of the stage. And if you turn around, his animatronic buns are sticking out of the wall at the back of the theater.
Mm-hmm.
Very enjoyable.
Very cute. And then he falls in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true in California, too, because that was the same effect with the cannon and the Swedish Chef and all that.
Yeah, Muppets 3D.
Yes, they were able to do it because they already had the hole.
Right.
I don't think it would exist if they didn't already have the hole, to be fair.
Yes. Do you, when Donald reaches out on the screen at some point, do you reach out and try to grab his hands?
I try to kiss him and I say, "What's that feel like, Donald?"
Okay.
Little taste of your own medicine, pervert.
Donald tried to kiss you too many
tried
times.
To kiss Ariel. Tried to kiss Ariel.
Oh, I see. You're getting back. Okay.
See? Yeah.
Yeah.
On Ariel's behalf. Okay, so
I'm white knighting Ariel.
Anything else you want to talk about?
Unrequested kiss
with the show.
The 3D is, I mean, yeah, it's old 3D, but it doesn't feel that old.
Okay.
Maybe it's the scale. Or maybe it's because it's largely cartoon characters. It's pretty good, right?
I think so.
Okay.
It's digital now, right?
What's that?
Yeah.
It's all digital.
Right.
Okay. Well, I've come to my verdict. If you have not guessed,
I have an argument. I have a couple actual arguments. I know where this is going, and I don't disagree. But I need to say these things that I've thought of as I've been trying to come up with any way to defend this thing. First of all, that space could be utilized for a dark ride, a very awesome dark ride, perhaps bringing back Mr. Toad, because it's a giant space, and the Fantasyland at Magic Kingdom is currently kind of hurting for dark rides compared to Disneyland, right? Also, at California Adventure, this show or a show of this kind should exist more so than an additional show of this kind needs to exist at the Magic Kingdom. Let me explain. At Magic Kingdom, you have Tiki Room, Philharmagic, Country Bear Jamboree. I think those are the only... What?
Carousel of Progress.
Oh, yeah, Carousel of Progress. Okay, thank you. And... Well, I mean, you could even possibly put People Mover in there, but it's not really a show, but it kind of has that same kind of like middle of the day.
Take a nap.
Yeah, the middle of the day, something to take Gampy on, like that kind of energy. DCA only has this. It should have more, but it only has this. There's a better argument in there that I haven't really untapped yet.
Well, it's also got a giant Broadway style theater around the corner,
but they're not using it.
Yeah.
So therefore,
they were for a little while,
but then the contract ran out for the Rogers.
Also has giant screens too that are very similar to what we're talking about. So they could put Philharmagic in that space.
Well, that would be in an impressive space.
Look,
agreed.
I have rarely been in the grasping at straws position. I don't like it any more than you guys do.
Well, I'll stop you from grasping. Okay. 10 points for Philharmagic at Magic Kingdom. It's an impressive show. It's full immersion, jaw drop, like Dan said, worth the price of admission to watch the proscenium drop and everything else. It's a magic trick and it's wonderful. And they tried at DCA, but they failed. So I don't know if we really want to go into the land impact, but Erik, while you were away, Dan had mentioned that the Muppet Vision 3D's entrance was kind of on the opposite side of where Philharmagic's entrance is, no longer adjacent to award wieners. That is all.
That's it.
Yeah, I never actually got to go there when Muppet Vision was still going, so
yeah.
I don't recall that. It's in a weird spot, and it's in a weird part of the park.
And they changed the entrance so people knew where it was.
Right.
Because nothing happens back in that area outside of monsters. But
right.
So Magic Kingdom's impact is it's just another one of the storefronts, if you will.
Right. It's a part of Fantasyland and you want to have all of the parts of Fantasyland working. And why not have a movie starring Donald
Mickey
Duck
Mouse,
and
Donald Duck,
several of your friends?
That can evolve and add new scenes when there are new beloved features.
Yeah. Well, once in the last few decades.
Looking at some of the arguments and discussions online, that people were saying that, like, wouldn't it be cool if they could, like, Star Tours this thing where they have a bunch of different interchangeable scenes, which...
every time you go on, it's a different thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, as long as you keep the beginning and the end the same, then that could work.
Yeah. It's a great idea. They'll never do it, but it is a great idea for rewatchability. And you could even do it like they do with parades and stuff, or used to do with parades, where like the movie comes out the same day the parade opens. You could do that kind of thing with Philharmagic, like this Disney Wish movie. You could have a Wish scene in that thing because it's all digital. You could add Donald Duck to it.
And I'm sure everybody who is on these films now, they've learned from Marvel, you get everybody to sign as part of their contract is, if we need you for a theme park show, you're doing it.
Right. Anyway, all right. So impact, whatever. Point is, Mickey's PhilharMagic Magic Kingdom is the supreme Mickey's PhilharMagic. Let's move on to the Tiki Room. Before we do,
you want to have do e-tickets, right? Yeah.
So there was another show behind the paywall of another podcast we talk about, they didn't do a very good job at e-tickets. They had a listener mailbag situation, and I forget the question that was posed. I think it was like, should this thing still be an e-ticket? So for those listeners who don't know, which would surprise me, Disney used to classify, before it was an all-inclusive pass where you could just get on everything with buying an admission. You used to pay $1 to walk in, or $2, whatever it was, and they would give you, or you'd buy a coupon book. A, coupons are the Main Street vehicles. B is, I don't know, the carousel. C is something else. And then in 1959, they introduced the e-ticket.
Canoes are also start with a C.
Sinews, yeah, sinews. So the monorail, submarine voyage, Everest, Matterhorn, they're all e-tickets, right? So in common vernacular, an e-ticket attraction is Rise of the Resistance, right? Haunted Mansion was an e-ticket. So as these things evolve, they still refer to these things as e-ticket. They do C-ticket, D-ticket, whatever. So my argument here is, if they're still doing ticket books, what letter are we on? That's the real question, because things have to evolve. If, for example, the submarine voyage is no longer an e-ticket.
No, we're going to downgrade a lot of these attractions, but
right.
I don't see why you would need to go beyond e-ticket. Maybe you offer more tickets in the book.
Well,
there's so many attractions at Disneyland.
If it's about the immersion or quality or spectacle of the thing, you can't say Rise of the Resistance is an e-ticket attraction and so is Mr. Toad.
No. You'd have to downgrade things over time.
I think you add another tier, but you can't. I mean, you can't have an F ticket.
Why not?
Because F is failure, Jimmy.
Skip over F and move to G. Like, I don't know. Like, so there's two arguments here. My argument is it just keeps evolving, and I'm going to use Rise of the Resistance again as sort of the current top tier. But then there's Guardians of the Galaxy, there's Tower of Terror, Rock and Roller Coaster, Test Track. Like, if those are all e-tickets, then Rise of the Resistance has to be an F or a G, or what letter should we be on at this point?
Walt Disney World. So my point here is Walt Disney World has so few attractions per park, you could stick with E. When the new thing comes out, kind of like with Lightning Lane, where they say, all right, the new attraction's out, there's either a virtual queue or a Lightning Lane you have to pay for, so we're going to downgrade the rest of the stuff. Like, D tickets can be Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster, and E can be Rise and Runaway Railway.
Millennium Falcon can't be an E-ticket.
No, it would be a C
or a D. Okay, so your argument,
have that much left.
Your argument is just downgrade everything else. So if it's currently an e-ticket and it's Tower of Terror, Rise of the Resistance is the new standard for e-ticket. Tower of Terror gets dropped to a D.
Right.
So if
Alien
I'm
swirling
buying it-
saucers is an A.
or a B, probably.
Or I mean, what if we combine
C.
these things a little bit and say keep A to E, but then also have an additional tier of virtual queue and or individual lightning lane?
But what under the guise of this argument, what ticket is that? Is that E plus?
Actually, honestly, with current Disney nomenclature, it would in fact be E plus.
Right.
That's fair.
So yeah, I guess so. I guess either argument is sound for me. I still contend that if we're still doing ticket books, maybe you're adding more to the C ticket book as more e-tickets come online.
I think there's a couple ways to have this conversation, and I think that the difficulty I'm having is that I don't know which direction to go in, because it's a good conversation to have, but I think in reality, what it would look like currently is it would be entirely based on the popularity of the ride, whether it should or not. And then so that brings up the other way to have the conversation is if we do just talk about the, I don't know, detail, quality, whatever of the ride and don't take into account the wait time. Yeah, there's going to be some overlap, but not necessarily. Then that's another way to have the conversation.
Okay, well, let me reframe again. So we use the term e-ticket in the Disney vernacular. We use the term e-ticket to explain a blockbuster new attraction.
Mm-hmm.
We still use the term candle power for light. Like the light at the top of the Luxor is like 3 million candle power.
Mm-hmm.
We still use horsepower to describe an engine. So you have my car has 300 horsepower, whatever it is, right?
Sure.
So if the same is true for e-ticket, it would have to expand beyond e-ticket. Just like the number of horses it would take to get to this speed, so too would the number of letter to explain this thing, because you discount Rise of the Resistance as an e-ticket attraction if also the Submarine Voyage is an e-ticket attraction. It discounts the value of what the thing is.
Yeah. I wonder, okay, again, I'm doing that thing where I'm like, I'm thinking in terms of like sort of like the theoretical, idealistic e-ticket being a standard bearer, and maybe we do have something on top of that. But then I'm also thinking how it would probably work is it would probably go land by land and say like, well, this is Tomorrowland's e-ticket or this is Fantasyland's e-ticket, like, which I think is bad accounting on their part, but that's probably what it would be. Because either that or they just I think that the problem I'm having in addressing this is like, I know how they probably would do this. And I think by now they would have gotten rid of the lettering system and had it be like this weird, like this is a
more like tiers
level, or,
more like tiers. Yeah.
Yeah. Which
obviously all of it's moot. But they brought up the conversation, and I thought there was a better conversation to have around it. So, listener, pipe in. What do you think? Do you think two things? Do you think we've gone to letter F or let's say H, or maybe we're up to T if we still have coupon books? Or do we stop at E and we just reduce things that aren't of the same quality to a C or a B or a D?
Wow.
That was a call to action for the listeners. You can reach us at jhunt at concierge.com, ejohnson at concierge.com, Dan at earsup-podcast.com. That's how you reach out and pipe in. How else? Oh, no, Facebook group.
Yeah, Facebook.
Go to the Facebook group, Supreme Resort Group, and chime in with your answer to what is an e-ticket anymore.
Or Instagram. We've got
Instagram.
The Supreme Resort. Yeah.
It's not that I don't check it like it's a matter of principle. It's just not something I do.
Okay. Guys, full transparency, I'm really I've been sitting here for over 2 hours. I know the episode's not quite that long, but I really want to do Tiki Room service. It deserves more. We thought this was going to go a lot faster. by the way, it should have gone a lot faster.
Yeah. And if I'm being honest,
why would it go faster?
Yeah. Well, and if I'm being honest, my notes are kind of old. I haven't read them in a while, and I think I probably gave up on them halfway through when preparing them.
And I don't. Did the new bathroom, the new Tiki Room bathroom, was it open when we recorded?
I don't remember. I haven't opened the document
I don't think so.
in years.
Okay,
it's 2020.
Well, yeah, let's give it the respect it deserves. I'm sorry, Eric. I know you really wanted to talk about it. We'll find another episode that we can put it in or make it the main topic.
Yeah. Another one that goes quickly like this one.
Exactly. Right.
Great.
All right. Thank you. Well, folks, thank you for listening. We appreciate your patronage. Thank you for all your support. And for new listeners, welcome. And we have other shows on the network. We have Ears Up, which is a podcast about Disneyland. You might hear a familiar voice if you listen to that. Ears Up In Depth is a news program. Puny Pod is a podcast about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where inexplicably they do spoiler-free reviews of these movies. I think the explicable part is that it's a rewatch podcast that a person who is watching for the first time can listen to without getting any of the future movies spoiled. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Stay tuned for that with The Marvels, which you can hear in 2027, which I saw on opening day. Yes, that was me. I was the one that saw it on opening day. I loved it.
It was so much fun.
I loved it. I think it was fun. The mid-credit, pre-credit, mid-credit, all of it was wonderful. I think it was just the right length, and you should see it. Rate and review our show, please. Go to Apple Podcasts or wherever you review stuff and give us 5 stars. That'd be great. If you don't think we deserve 5 stars, then keep it to yourself. No joking. We like all the feedback. Anything else from you two before we close it up?
I gotta say, pro move. If you have something to say that is not entirely positive, give us the 5 stars and then say all the stuff you want in the review.
Exactly,
because that's
very
funny.
Helpful.
Or come to the Facebook group and give your constructive criticism, and we'll take it.
And I swear I'm trying to get chapter marks in, but Spotify does not like the solutions I've tried thus far.
Yeah. So we're working on it. That was one of the feedbacks, is that I just want to hear the content of the show. I don't want to hear yahoos talking about being nerds, like talking about e-tickets for 10 minutes. All right. Well, until next time, thank you for listening. Be good to each other. And until next time, court is adjourned. And really unsubscribe from, what is it? Single Riders. Unsubscribe from Single Riders.
Hey, new listeners, this is Chad's Cool Guy. Thanks for listening to our podcast on YouTube. Don't forget to hit that bell and subscribe and like and make terrible racist comments below.
Hey, why does it do it?
I don't know. Huel goes twice too. How was the ad?
That's good.
That was great.
Just enough?
Ad was great.
All right. I think it accomplished what you wanted to accomplish.
I think so. I think it's a fitting end.
Because when you said Nazi paraphernalia, I'm like, ooh.
I got it.
And I should have probably credited, I borrowed a few of, most of that from a song by Stephen Lynch. You've heard me talk about it. I believe the song is called Tiny Mustache.
Oh, God.
Subtitle, I Think You're a Nazi.
Yeah.
So he says, real quick,
Rob and Ryan are going to be heartbroken.
You love my life, but it cuts like a knife, and I feel I'm being misled. See, I'm a little concerned, for I recently learned of the swastika tattoo on your head. Makes you smile when you hear "See Kyle." You love the smell of a burning cross in the yard. You do goose step salutes in your Doc Marten boots, and you quoted Mein Kampf in our 5th anniversary card. Think you're a Nazi. You keep extensive files of the Nuremberg trials, etc., etc. Anyway, good stuff.
not a Nazi.